All right, perfect. All right. Looking back in your early days, like, what really got you into acting? Like, what gave you the premonition of what you were going to be later on and where you are right now?
Yes, I was always acting in school plays and stuff, and my mother used to take me to the movies because I came from a broken home and then lived with my grandmother and grandfather, and my mother took me all the time to the movies at age 3, 4, 5 years old. I'd come home, I'd act all the parts I saw. I grew up with that sort of interest. And then I went on and wanted to be an athlete, a baseball player, a football player, and tried all that stuff, and I just wasn't good enough. Nobody's good enough to do what they do. I mean, it's just impossible. They are another world. And so I didn't like school. I had trouble in school and with everybody. We came from the South Bronx, and there was a lot of stuff going around. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I loved it. It saved my life. My friends saved my life. Being with those groups and just surviving. And then I wound up, having to support my mother for a while there. So I went to work in Manhattan. I quit school. I did all that stuff that was, you're not supposed to do. But I didn't even know what I was doing. And then I met people in the city. I came and lived in the village. I was 17, 18 years old. I was living in the village, West Village, East Village. What I could afford, I worked, I sent home, and then I kept going, and I kept finding things. I went to the actor's studio, I failed the audition, I came back, it didn't bother me, never bothered me. I didn't care about rejection. If I got rejected, it was part of the game. I was lucky that I had that sort of will or something. I don't know what it was. I thought, yeah, it's not the thing. I shouldn't. And I remember I started to do things, and I met Charlie Lawton, who was just the greatest. And he was my friend and my acting teacher. He's such a great actor. He was such a great actor himself that they made him a teacher, but he didn't want to act. He was a poet and a writer. And he introduced me to all the great writers. And I think that started it. I started reading. I read always, but not the kind of writers that he exposed me to. I started reading, and I got this sort of connection to their work. And they were, from Tolstoy to everybody, everybody, writing. I spent days in the library on 42nd Street. I went to bookshops all the time. I found the little books with the little tiny printing of Maupassant, Balzac. I'm reading on the train, I had the eyes in those days. Now I can't see these monitors. But at the same time, I didn't know where I was going. I got the Strindberg play. It was the Strindberg play. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was doing a little of this, a little of that, I get through it, and then I'm telling my life story. I'm writing a book, by the way, which is so weird. I'm in the process of it. But anyway, I'm in this play, the Strindberg play, and I'm playing this character. And Charlie was directing it, something. I was another director, my great friend, Frank Biancamano, if you know him, he was a studio member. He was in it. I met him because I was a bicycle messenger, and he was a dispatcher, and I came to audition for him. He had a theater. I didn't know who he was. I said, this is the guy who was my boss. He said, didn't I see you in the mess hall? I was like, no, I didn't know. I don't know. I was trying to make an image for the guy. But he knew I was a crazy kid with the bicycles and stuff. But the thing about it is, I did this play, a couple of plays there, Tiger at the Gates, and all that kind of interesting, new kind of plays, Mario and the Magician, that kind of stuff, Thomas Mann. And so, I had developed this over the years, this education. I didn't know where I was going still, but I was doing it, right? Me and Marty Sheen, we cleaned toilets at the Living Theater. We loved it. We were there, worked for Judith Malina, Julian Beck, in the Great Connection, Jungle Cities, and all these great people that were avant-garde. had their own sort of artistic world, and so I was part of that, but I wasn't, I was just sort of fluctuating. Anyway, I did this string to get to a long fucking story. But I'm doing the play, I'm doing this part of someone, far from the South Bronx, far from the South Bronx, but not. Because in the middle of it, I'm doing it, right? And I'm playing this thing, this person who was quite good. The actors were pros, by the way. I was 22 at the time. And suddenly, I say something just like that, and I saw the world. I just saw the fucking world, the universe. And I said, I come from everywhere.
Right.
I can express this thing, whatever this is inside me, that I have a vehicle, I have a path in my heart. I said, that's it. This is what I do for the rest of my life. No problems anymore. This is what I do for the rest of my life. I said, I don't care if I'm famous. I don't care if I make money. Nothing. Doesn't matter. I'm, of course, 22 years old. I had no responsibilities and all that. It was easy to say that, but at the same time, it's what I felt. I felt there was no pressure anymore. I didn't need a career. I had this. I had this to go on. I don't know, that's a little abstract for people, but it really got me. And when I did that, I think my life changed, and I think I've been that way ever since.